Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That, as always, is Amin Elhassan. We have a great show for you today because, Amin, Minnesota did not get swept. Dallas fell to them 105 to 100. The Wolves delivered. Did you see this coming? Did you think that they were going to get a game off them at home in a closeout situation?
I'm going to tell you right now, selfishly, I wanted the series to end because I just want to move on. I want to go on to what's next. I want to get ready for next week. I want to have like a week of not having to say at 8 o'clock Eastern, I got to be via TV now. So, yeah, I didn't see it coming because I was rooting for it to not happen.
You were doing some wishful thinking. I think they call that manifesting on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a great performance from the Timberwolves. Cat had 69% for field goals. Nice. Got distracted. Anytime you see 69%, you got to stop in your tracks a little bit. Anyway, he was 4 or 5 from 3. He scored 20 in the second half. What did you see from him that made a difference?
I mean, it's what everyone has been telling him to do. When your shot's not falling, go get some easy shots by the rim. And he did that. He drove the ball. He posted up. Everything was towards the rim. He didn't take his first 3 until midway through the second half. And then when he did, he made it. And that kind of fed his confidence. And that's what a lot of this is just being able to ride the wave of confidence. And one shot and one made shot leads to the next one. You get the easy ones, build up the confidence. And then after that, everything feels like a lid has been taken off. And, we talked a lot about, like, does he shoot 1,500 times a day or not? And I was like, that's irrelevant. All he's trying to do is tell you, I'm putting the work in. But, confidence is a key element as well. You know
what it reminds me of? I mean, do you remember when CJ McConnell a few years ago tweeted that some woman on Twitter was like, why aren't you winning anything, or you got to win a playoff game? And he tweeted back, I'm trying, Jennifer. That's one of my favorite moments in NBA Twitter history. And I feel like that's what everybody keeps asking him. They're like, why aren't you good right now? And he's like, I'm doing my best. Like, it's not like he wants to suck. But there is a problem. No, right. Because there's a problem here, which is the dumb fouls that Karl Anthony Towns insists on committing. How can you do? What's going on?
I mean, it comes down to, I think, as simple as impulse control, because we're not talking about a guy who, okay, you got like 5 fouls on some really tough things, and then you fouled out on a silly, cheap foul, right? It's not like 1 or 2 of these are silly, cheap fouls, and you got to know better, which we would say. It's the majority of his fouls seem to be silly, cheap fouls, and fouls that don't have any regard for your current foul situation.
Right. Well, Ant had something to say about this. A reporter asked Ant and Kat at their buddy comedy premiere, at their press conference about these fouls. Let's roll that.
A long time with the 5 fouls tonight, and still found a way to score.
I'll tell you about 5. Bro.
What you mean? You had 5,
but I didn't foul out.
You fouled out. I did what I needed to do.
I'm gonna beat him up on the bus, y'all.
Get out of here.
I'm just glad nobody in the press conference started laughing. Oh, that was funny. No,
you hate that.
I hate the fake laugh. Like, that was smile-inducing.
Okay, I might have laughed, but it would have been real. Ant did not foul out. He also had 29 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. And he was asked about telling Micah Parsons, a Cowboys star, that he would see him for Game 6, which would be back in Dallas, if Minnesota cannot end their season tomorrow night. And here's what he said.
What am I supposed to say? I'm supposed to say we're going to lose Game 5? No, I'm not going to never say that. Michael Parsons, he was rocking the AE1s, and I told him he wears size 14. I'll bring back some nice shoes for Game 6. That's what I told him.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically admitting to you what I told you guys after he said, before Game 7 of the Denver series, or before Game 6. Hey, we'll be back here for Game 7. Everyone blew their minds. What's he supposed to say? Hey, man, it was a hell of a season. I'll see you next year. He's not going to say that. And nobody ever remembers when they promise to be back and they don't come back. They only remember the ones that hit. See you on Sunday. Patrick Ewing. All right, man. Like, they get mopped in Game 5. No one's going to rush back to Michael Parsons and say, hey, man, you ever get them shoes? Right. No, we just move on. We start talking about the finals at that point.
People might remember that I said Wolves in 7 against the Nuggets. They don't remember that I said Mavs in 5
Yep.
because that didn't happen. You know, you got to it's a percentage game. I mean, you got to just toss stuff out there. But in terms of the Timberwolves, who else delivered for them?
Well, for me, I think like Rudy Gobert deserves a lot of credit, specifically after getting his fifth foul for his ability to continue to defend and protect the paint and bother Kyrie Irving and everybody else trying to get layups and floaters and short jumpers.
Hmm.
To do that with 5 fouls, that's kind of what we want a cat to do. Like, hey, your teammate has 5 fouls. He is conscious of his foul situation while still remaining somewhat aggressive on the defensive end. I thought he deserved a lot of credit. What about you? Who do you think?
I think the
Kudos.
biggest difference, like I think the thing that changed the most, besides the Timberwolves and Cat specifically actually hitting shots, was that they put Kyle Anderson on Luca. Because as we talked about yesterday, and you said how Ant is exhausted because everybody keeps making him guard the best players. And I think that this gave Anthony Edwards a lot more juice on the offensive end because Kyle Anderson was like, okay, you know what, I'll deal with this guy. But when it comes to the Mavs, obviously Luka and Kyrie did not shoot as well as they needed to. Daniel Gafford, though, this guy is balling out. He looks amazing. Who did you compare him to last night on our
I
text
said this
line?
is turning into Shaq in the third quarter, man. They were just throwing everything everywhere. He just caught it and dunked everything. Great hands, great finishes, finishing through traffic, finishing through contests. And then on the other end, big shot blocks. I mean,
Yeah,
there's one point where I sent a text message to my group chat. I was like, man, they're bullying these guys at this point, man. When he tossed back Karl Anthony Towns' second shot and they got out on the break as a result. I mean, Gafford's been tremendous. I know we talked about like Lively not playing. I'll be honest with you. I thought the Mavericks did well with Lively's absence. They had they got some contributions from my man Maxi Kleber, who'd missed a bunch of playoff games, but came in and gave him a boost, particularly in the first half when they made that big run
right.
to close the deficit. But it's just one of those things. To me, this was about like Dallas's stars had off games,
Hmm.
and that's going to happen. It's not going to be every single night where they can be impressive or amazing.
Right. In terms of Kyrie, what was interesting is this was his first closeout game loss. I mean, did
Yeah,
you?
his
His
career.
all-time record is now 14-1. I didn't realize that until the game ended last night. I was like, oh, so I'm sorry, he had never lost a game where he has an opportunity to go on to the next series.
To send someone home. Yeah, like that was a pretty impressive streak.
That's
14 and
amazing.
0. 14 and 1 is still terrific too.
Right.
And it's not like they got blown out. Like they had chances. I mean, think
Right.
about that 4-point play or 4-point play opportunity that Luca had at the end, and he missed the free throw, and that changes kind of the math on everything of how they were going to defend the next possession and what they had to do. This is just one of those things where we're like, what are you going to do, man? Like you have to accept that in basketball, they're going to be off nights. And that's not to say, that's not take anything away from Minnesota because I thought they defended. They were excellent on the defensive end. I thought moving Anthony Edwards off and allow him to kind of roam around helped a lot. Kyle Anderson is incredibly smart. He's tall, he's long, and he understands the Luca language, meaning like he's a guy whose nickname is slow mo. So you can't out slow him, which is what Luca does. Luca does a lot of I'm slow, and then he'll burst very
Yeah.
quickly. Well, Kyle Anderson's like, oh, that's my game. So there's a little bit of an understanding of the language there. But at the end of the day, like let's be honest, like Kyrie missed a couple of wide open shots that he usually makes. There were other opportunities that they didn't convert on, and they ended up losing the game. And you know what, Charlotte? That's what happens when you get into crunch time. Nobody's undefeated in crunch time. The Mavericks had been in crunch time 4 straight games down with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And this is the one where they couldn't pull the chestnuts out the fire.
That's a amazing saying. I don't know that I've ever heard you say that before.
Yes.
All
Chestnuts
right.
out the fire. It's from like the World War II vets. Like, hey, we pulled France's chestnuts out the fire twice.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
That's what they
Um,
say.
Jason Kidd was asked about where aspects he thought that he could have won the game, or which was an interesting question. I was surprised that he answered it. He was just like, "Yeah, I thought when Luca could have made that 4-point play." That felt like a rare blip from the Mavs. I think moving forward for Game 5, I mean, I have this image that pops into my head and this is going to sound way meaner than I intend it to. I feel like in this series with the Mavs, the Wolves have become this like, for some reason, the image that pops into my head is like a box car that you would make in elementary school, like, but like the most beautiful version. And like I
Yeah.
see the Mavs and the Wolves next to each other, and the Wolves one is like starting to just shake and like go off the rails, and the wheels are starting to. And I feel like at some point this is, as we talked about yesterday, the heartbreak that the Mavs have not had before. I feel like the wheels are gonna come off.
I've never built a boxcar in my life. I've never seen one in front of me in my life. It's only something from Americana in movies, right? Like white picket fences. And, I've never seen any of those things in my life. So
I
I'll take
haven't.
your word for
I'll,
it.
I'll be honest. I haven't either. I've never built one. Never seen one. That's just what popped into my head because that's what's going on up there.
I feel better now.
Good. You should. We got to talk about Draymond though. On the inside the NBA on TNT. This was his last broadcast, and I have to tell you, I mean, because Gobert and Cat played well, and those are guys that Draymond has famously either choked out or said they are not good. I was impressed that he said he was like, Cat. Well, actually, no. First, he said Cat had a horrible first half, but he
Yeah.
came through, and then he said, "I have to give credit to Rudy."
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think anything Draymond says is incorrect. Now, is it fueled with the fire of 1,000 suns hate that he has for these people that he's talking about? Absolutely. Will he embellish at times to make those points? Absolutely. But I don't think he's incorrect when he brings up flaws and stuff like that. You could just say it's a little targeted, especially when he's giving Daniel Gafford pointers after game 3 about like, hey, they got you like this. You go to the DHO or you can throw it back. Like, what are you doing here? But I don't have a problem with it because I think he's one of the smartest guys out there in terms of analysis. He sees the game very clearly. He explains the game very clearly, which sometimes is a difficulty for great players. And look, man, let him get his rocks off.
Give him a chance. Give him a massive platform to grind his personal
Yeah.
axes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about Draymond is that everything is personal with him, and this is also just who he is, which is both his gift and his Achilles heel. It's the reason he's won 4 championships with the Warriors because he doesn't back down. He's not apologetic, but it's also the reason he gets suspended because he doesn't back down and he's not apologetic. And I think that he says these things on air. And it's things that other people say and things that if someone else said it, a lot of listeners would be like, yeah, for sure. But because it's Draymond and everything is through this personal lens and because he's such a lightning rod, I think anything can be taken as like, he said what? So,
Yeah. In that voice particularly.
yeah, that's how people say this. He said what?
Charlotte, I got a note here. It's our
Oh.
contract says it's time to talk about LeBron again. So,
Oh,
time to get
God.
that Bronny bump. Bronny James is officially foregoing his collegiate eligibility and taking his chances in the NBA draft. So we have the early entry deadline to pull your name back. Say, oh, I tested the waters. I'm not ready. He's saying to hell with that. Full speed ahead. Moreover, there is a report out that he's only expected to work out with 2 teams, Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, even though he had over 10 invites, Charlotte. People are like, hey, come work out for us. And his representation, Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, said no. He ain't doing that. We're only working out for 2 teams, the Lakers and the Suns. Expected to be a late day 2 pick. This is football talk, man.
Yeah. This to me says more about what LeBron is going to do, which is stay with the Lakers, than what Bronny is going to do. Because if they're taking 2 workouts, and one is with the Suns and one is with the Lakers, there's only one reason that they're working out with the Suns. Tell the people what that is.
Leverage. Shout out to John Travolta in Battlefield Earth. Leverage. That's what he's trying to do. And Rich Paul is doing what any agent does in these situations, trying to build leverage to get his client the best deal possible. And his client in this case is Bronny James. And the leverage he has is Bronny James's father. And so they're going to take the team that has demonstrated itself at this current point in time to be the most desperate for any big name splash, which is the Phoenix Suns. and say, well, LeBron will go there, and they'll draft him with the 22nd pick. And let's just leave out the fact that the Suns are hopelessly capped over, and LeBron would never, ever, ever, ever take a minimum deal,
Right.
even if it is for the love of his child. Be real. Like, this is all something just to give the Lakers something to think about. Like, hey, do you really want to see that guy wearing a division rival uniform? I think you're right. Ultimately,
Yeah,
we're
like
going to see Bronny on the Lakers.
people forget the thing we've been talking about with the Suns since they were knocked out of the playoffs is that they are stuck with this team because they are in cap space hell. So if LeBron decided to be altruistic to Phoenix all of a sudden, interesting. Don't think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, stick around. We'll be right back with Bet the Show. Welcome back to Oddball. We're going to get to Bet the Show in a second, but there are a few other things we have to talk about. Ty Lue got a new deal with the Clippers today. Congrats to Ty. Congrats to LA. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about that because the Philadelphia 76ers insist on staying in the news. There's a rumor that Philadelphia is prepared to offer someone a lot of money. Wonder who it could be.
Jimmy Butler. Did you say your own name? No.
That's right. The Sixers are reportedly ready to offer Jimmy a max contract if they pull off a trade with the Heat. And that was Jimmy Butler in Bad Boys, the new
4.
Bad 4?
Yes. Not to be confused with Bad Boys 4 Life, which is Bad Boys 3.
It's like Too Fast, Too Furious telling me that's the third one. You gotta keep the 4 in the title.
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, okay. Philadelphia Drift. The Sixers only have 3 players under contract for 2024-2025. Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Ricky Council, and they have been linked to Paul George and LeBron. We do not think that's happening. And Philly extended Tobias Harris instead of Butler in 2019, which people forget. Jimmy said this.
Tobias Harris over me?
So what's going on? What is it? This is real?
Yeah, I mean, it's as real as it's going to get, right? Because it's contingent on the Miami Heat saying, okay, let's do a deal, which I don't think one is forthcoming, but you never know. Look, the Sixers obviously made a mistake when they let Jimmy Butler go. A lot of teams thought when he was seeking a max deal back in 2019 that, he's over the hill and his minutes are high and like he's on the downside of his career, and is he even really that good? And he went to Miami, and over the last 4 or 5 years, he's proven, yes, I'm every bit that good. Now, that was much to the chagrin of Joel Embiid, Philly's best player, because he liked Jimmy Butler. He really resonated with him. He liked playing with him. He liked where their combination was going, even though they'd only been together for about half a season there. And so that, I think, was something that was always hanging over them, particularly as Jimmy was successful and bringing in success and rubbing it in Philadelphia's faces. So I think this is a possibility in the sense that, hey, your best player wants it. You have the cap flexibility to absorb his contract and give him the max extension on top of whatever years he has remaining, because that's what he's been seeking from Miami. And Miami's like, wait a second, like, you've been hurt a lot.
Right.
I don't know if we want to commit that kind of money without knowing for sure that you're past it. So those elements all line up, but the part that still needs to line up is, would Miami actually engage in a deal? And if they were to do that, what would they get in return?
I mean, I think it's fun. I want to say I double dog dare you, Daryl Morey, but I think it's more
Howard.
Yeah, well, he's a coward. I think it's more Pat Riley. Do it. Make things interesting. All right, now it's time for Bet the Show. Bet the Show.
Let's Bet Show.
It's sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you will hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, yeah.
What do we got first?
I'll start here. We got Caitlin Clark. She's our very own Victor Wembanyama / LeBron. She's in the contract now, guys. This is the latest thing from DKN. She's in the contract.
Okay.
We got to talk about her incessantly. Over under in her next game is what we're talking about. She scored a career high last night versus the LA Sparks, had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Sounds great. But also 7 turns. And she set the record for fastest rookie to record 100-plus points and 50-plus assists. But the Fever lost again. They lost to the Sparks 88-82. Cameron Brink, the number 2 overall pick, had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And the Fever are now 1-7. Their next game is against the Seattle Storm on Thursday. Charlotte Wilder, are you betting that Caitlin Clark will score over or under 20.5 points in her next game?
I mean, I'm going to take the over because I actually think she'll score 21. I think it'll be around there. I don't think it'll be 30 again, but I think she's going to keep going off. It's so fascinating. Like Cameron Brink too, she had a bad game because she has been leading the league in blocks. Like she's playing very, very well for LA.
She's the real Wembanyama.
Well, the rookie of the year odds, DraftKings, put those out.
Yeah, let's put some money on this, DK. All right, next one. Dallas and Minnesota, game 5, the game that is the bane of my existence. Total points over under 209.5. The first 3 games, Charlotte, the over hit. Game 4, it was the under, with only 205 points being scored total. Are you betting the over or the under at 209.5 points?
Okay, so I was gonna say the under because they're all tired, but Luka and Kyrie shot very, very poorly in game 4 when it was the under. So I'm gonna say the over because they're gonna bounce back. I mean,
yeah, one more Kyrie 3, a Luka free throw, and give me anything anywhere else, and you already hit the over there.
yeah, they were. I mean, they really did not. They shot very poorly. Unless Kyle Anderson is the Luka kryptonite that nobody
Luka
saw.
stopper.
Yeah,
The Luka stopper. Wow, he's got an opportunity here.
he does.
Oh, you got
Sure
an
does.
opportunity to get a new nickname.
Luka Stopper. Would you? I feel like I'd be sort of pissed if my nickname involved somebody else's full name.
No, it's cool when it's like someone who's really good. The problem is when they come back and they torture you. So there's this guy named Ruben Patterson. He played on the Lakers a long time ago, and in practice, he used to like go hard against Kobe Bryant. So then he goes to the Portland Trailblazers, and like the first game they play, he actually did a good job defending him, and everyone called him the Kobe Stopper. And then for the rest of his career, Kobe just lit his ass up every single time, just to like further emphasize like there ain't no such thing as a Kobe Stopper.
So did they stop calling him the Kobe Stopper?
No, it was after that it became like an ironic nickname, like Little John.
Oh, poor guy. This league is brutal. Okay, let's move on to game 5. Oh, sorry. We're going to stay with game 5. I mean, we're going to keep torturing you. We're going to just talk about the game spread here because Dallas won game 1 by 3 points and game 2 by 1 point. Dallas has another chance to close out Minnesota and is getting 5 points. Are you taking Dallas plus 5 or the Timberwolves minus 5? It's sort of surprising to me that the Wolves are favored here.
Yeah, this is what I would say. If the Wolves are going to win, if you're someone who sits there and says, you know what, I think the Wolves are going to win this game, then I would say that they're probably going to win by a lot. They're not going to win by a little. Like what happened last game is an aberration. You saw they try to give it away. So I don't think the Wolves are going to win. So I'm taking Dallas plus 5.
Wow. Okay. Really? You think that the Wolves to win, they're going to blow Dallas out even though
They have to blow them out. There's no other way they win.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not going to do what they did in game 4 again, which is make all of those mistakes that they always make, but somehow survive them. Like that's the only difference. The only difference between games 1 through 3 and game 4 is Dallas couldn't capitalize on the mistakes enough in those crunch minutes, even though you saw they scored 30 points off of turnovers. Like Minnesota is going to make the dumb mistakes. The only question is Dallas going to capitalize or not? And when it matters the most, they didn't last night, but they had 3 straight games before that. I think it's a close game again. Dallas will win. Give me Dallas.
Do we have odds on whether Cat's going to foul out again? Because those are bets that I would be interested in taking.
I would.
Anyway, thanks for watching Oddball, everybody. It's been a while since I thanked you. We're gonna be watching Game 5 tomorrow. I mean, you've got a little more basketball to get through before we get to the finals.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Come on, Wolf. Be cooperative. Don't you roll in the pack? Pack is about the pack mentality. The pack wants you to lose. So that we can have some days off.